The ocean was on fire. Smoke filled the sky as shells exploded against the steel sides of a ship fighting for its life. In the middle of World War I, far out in the Atlantic, a single American vessel was being hunted by a German submarine. The enemy's guns were tearing into the bridge, smashing equipment, and sending deadly shrapnel through the air. Sailors were being hit, the ship was taking on water. Most people in that moment would have lost hope. But one man, badly wounded and bleeding, refused to leave his post. Even as his strength faded, he demanded to be placed back on the bridge so he could continue to command his ship. His name was James Jonas Madison, and what he did in those final hours of battle would become one of the most courageous naval stories of World War I. James Jonas Madison was born on May 20, 1884, in Jersey City, New Jersey, and would grow up to become a United States Navy officer. During World War I, he was placed in command of the U.S.S. Ticonderoga, a ship responsible for carrying critical supplies across dangerous waters where German submarines waited to strike. On October 4, 1918, his ship was attacked without warning, and Madison was seriously wounded early in the fight. Yet even with severe injuries and blood loss, he refused to abandon his duty. From a chair on the bridge, he continued to direct his crew, return fire, and maneuver the sinking ship for nearly 2 hours. His leadership saved dozens of lives, even though it would cost him his leg and his career. This is the story of a man who stayed in command when everything around him was falling apart. The Atlantic Ocean was no longer calm. Waves slammed against steel as smoke and fire rose into the sky. A lone American ship was fighting for survival against an unseen enemy beneath the water. Shells ripped into the deck, metal screamed, men shouted, blood mixed with seawater. This was not just a battle, it was a struggle between life and death. Somewhere below the surface, a German submarine had locked onto its target, firing again and again with deadly precision. The bridge of the ship was hit, one of its guns was destroyed, the crew was under relentless attack, and in the middle of all of this stood one man who refused to give up. He was wounded early in the fight, badly hurt. Losing blood, he could barely stand, but he would not leave his post. Instead, he ordered himself carried back to the bridge in a chair so he could keep commanding his ship. Even as his strength faded, he continued to give orders, aiming guns, steering the vessel, and fighting back against the enemy. His ship was sinking, but his spirit never did. This man was Lieutenant Commander James Jonas Madison. He was not just a sailor, he was a leader in the truest sense of the word. On October 4, 1918, during one of the most dramatic naval battles of World War I, Madison showed the world what courage really looks like. While surrounded by fire and chaos, he stayed in command until he could no longer remain conscious. His actions that day saved lives and became one of the greatest stories of heroism in naval history. James Jonas Madison was born on May 20, 1884, in Jersey City, New Jersey. Like many young men of his era, he grew up during a time when the world was changing fast and war was becoming unavoidable. When the United States entered World War I, Madison chose to serve his country by joining the U.S. Navy. He was eventually placed in command of the U.S.S. Ticonderoga, a ship tasked with carrying vital supplies across the dangerous waters of the Atlantic Ocean. During World War I, German submarines were sinking Allied ships at an alarming rate. These submarines, known as U-boats, attacked without warning, sending thousands of sailors to the bottom of the sea. Every mission across the Atlantic was a gamble with death. The Ticonderoga was one of the ships trying to keep supply lines open, bringing much-needed materials to support the war effort. Madison was not just responsible for the ship, he was responsible for the lives of 236 men aboard. He was known as a steady and determined leader, someone his crew trusted even in the most dangerous situations. That trust would be tested on October 4, 1918, when the Ticonderoga was suddenly attacked by a German submarine. What followed was one of the most intense naval engagements of the war. Madison would be wounded early, but his leadership would never waver. Even as his ship was slowly being destroyed, he stayed in command, proving that real bravery is not about being unafraid. It is about refusing to give up, even when everything is falling apart. On October 4, 1918, the U.S.S. Ticonderoga was traveling through dangerous waters when a German submarine surfaced nearby. Without warning, the enemy opened fire. The first shot struck the bridge in the forecastle. One of the ship's forward guns was destroyed almost immediately. The Ticonderoga was under heavy attack, and the crew rushed to their stations. Lieutenant Commander Madison was wounded early in the battle. Shrapnel and enemy fire tore into him, causing severe injuries. Most commanders would have been taken below for medical care, but Madison refused. He ordered that he be placed in a chair on the bridge so he could continue directing the battle. For nearly 2 hours, the Ticonderoga fought back. Madison gave orders through pain and blood loss, guiding his crew, maneuvering the ship, and returning fire at the submarine. The enemy continued to strike, slowly crippling the vessel. The deck was damaged, fires burned, and the ship began to sink. Despite the hopeless situation, Madison remained in command. Only when it became clear that the Ticonderoga could no longer stay afloat did he give the order to abandon ship. By that time, he was so weak from blood loss that he collapsed and became unconscious. His crew carried him into a lifeboat, and he was saved along with 31 other men. Out of 236 sailors, only 32 survived. Without Madison's leadership and determination, even fewer would have made it. His courage in those final moments turned a disaster into a story of survival. James Jonas Madison paid a heavy price for his bravery. His injuries were so severe that his leg had to be amputated, ending his naval career in 1920. But his sacrifice was not forgotten. For his extraordinary heroism and leadership, he was awarded the Medal of Honor, the highest military award in the United States. He did not save himself first. He stayed at his post. He fought through pain. He stayed in command while his ship was being destroyed. Because of him, 31 men were able to return home instead of being lost at sea. Madison's story reminds us that true leadership is not about power or rank. It is about standing strong when everything is falling apart. It is about protecting others even when it costs you everything. His courage during World War I continues to inspire generations, showing that even in the darkest moments, one person can make a difference. James Jonas Madison was more than a naval officer. He was a hero who refused to surrender, even when his ship and his body were breaking. And because of that, his name will forever be remembered in history.